Well, I think next time we get you on, or if I see you on the campaign trail, because I think everybody who knows me says I'll get out there with a microphone and camera and just show up like I did with RFK just recently. You can expect to see me out there.
Oh,
I just
that'd
want to
be
kind of
beautiful.
note what's that?
I said that'd be beautiful. I'd welcome you right on in, though, brother.
You know I will. So we got this book over here, Democracy Matters. Okay. But does democracy matter if we do not have a fair and transparent election system? So my question to you right off the bat is, and this is
Yeah.
my area of expertise. I am an election integrity expert. I've gone over the other countries in Latin America, and seen fair, transparent elections. In your mind, was the 2020 election fair?
See, I don't think that any election in the United States meets the highest levels of fairness, giving the role of big money that selects candidates already before people even go to the voters' booth. And when they go to the voters' booth, they're choosing between two parties that themselves are already captive to corporate wealth. Now, is it fair in the very, very narrow sense of a majority of the votes or most of the votes being counted and then reported as they're counted? Now, there, I think one can make a strong case. This is where I would have deep disagreements with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is thoroughly convinced that the very votes that were put forward were not counted at all. Now, when he talks about the election being rigged in the structural and institutional sense, well, that's a different issue, because we can
Where do
talk
you
about
stand
how
on that?
oh no, there's no doubt that the very fact that we could have two parties for so long that are tied to the same Wall Street Pentagon interests means there is a quality of it being rigged. When I supported Brother Bernie Sanders in 2016, 2020, the Democratic Party rigged it against him. There was no way he could win. And when we were winning, as you might recall in Nevada, and Brother Obama makes the phone call to have all the neoliberal politicians drop out, Pete and Amy and company. Why? Because they said nobody, or put it this way, Bernie will never win. There's no way he will win. Well, that's what you call rigged. But that's a structural and an institutional rigging that's very different than votes that are put forward and votes that are counted.
Okay.
And that's why
let me stop you really quick, Dr. West, because
very much so.
I listen, I agree with that part. There's the political part, the way we can use the media, we can sway the media. We saw with the WikiLeaks drops. But what I'm asking you, Dr. West, because this is an area where it's going to come back to haunt you if you don't get ahead of this, when it comes to the election process itself. Do we have a fair process itself? Because let me explain to you, in Nicaragua, you have 1 day of voting. It's on a Sunday. You must show up at your designated election spot, your precinct, with ID. It takes about 10 minutes to vote. Where the vote is cast, it is counted. There's no proprietary software there. So what I'm trying to say, ask you too, is what
Brazil's
we
the
talk
same
about
way.
Fannie Lou.
Brazil's the
she
same
was an
way.
election activist.
Neo-fascist leader. Brazil's the same way. It's counted digitally.
I was in Brazil, so I know about it. But this election system we have here today, because you're a Green Party member now, right? So you're running as a Green. You don't have to worry about this whole. Okay. Is the process of the election fair?
I don't think it is fair in the structural and institutional sense of what an election really should be. No, I don't.
Good. What area would you tackle first?
Well, first, I would make sure on a very minimal level that, that the citizenry has time to vote, national holiday. Each vote goes in immediately without having to be mediated with a whole host of other entities and persons. But then I would have, my critique of campaign financing, and to make sure that persons' votes that go in are not confined to just two politicians of two parties, both parties being tied to corporate interests and the Pentagon. So you got a structural institutional level, then you've got a procedural level, and then you've got to make it available to citizens and do all you can to encourage citizens, to empower citizens to vote. What is it? New Zealand, 90-some% of their citizens vote. United States, what is it? 60-some% on a good day.
Yeah.
Why?
On
We
a
got
good
over
day.
35, 40% of our fellow citizens don't participate whatsoever. I'm going to them too, my brother. Not
On a
just
good
Trump
day.
country. I'm going to them too,
I
along
got
with
you.
my progressive folk, and especially, as you know, my black folk and brown folk.
Well, do you think we should have mass mail-out ballots?
I think we can learn something from those countries that are able to count their ballots within hours because of the mediated with the computers that actually work and computers that allow for transparency. Yes.
See, here's my recommendation. We have to eliminate mass mail-out ballots. If you want to get a mail-out ballot, if you are handicapped, you can't go. If you're a military person, you can't go. So be it. But every election, you should have to re-register for that mail-in ballot. It should be like you said, voter holiday. All these countries I went to, it's a Sunday.
All of them. All because they're interested in their citizen participate.
And they all must have ID when they go to their designated voting precinct. This whole vote center makes it impossible to audit an election. But it's also very rapid. You get in and you get out. You don't have to wait for hours in lines. It's almost like they broke the system so they can purposely move people in the mail-in ballots, because with mail-in ballots, you don't need to necessarily generate a voter. You just have to generate a ballot. And with ballot harvesting now, right, when a person can drop off thousands of ballots and then drop boxes, you don't know where these ballots are coming from. There's zero chain of custody. Not to mention the way that Brother Bernie got cheated in the first time in 2016. It was cheated on the back end. We have proprietary software counting these ballots, meaning we, the people who fund this election, can't even open up the hood and look at the car and the engine, what's going on. So that's why we need to get back to in-precinct accounting, hand counted in front of the people. You can use a machine that has open source in front of them with results that night. Dr. West, if we don't tackle this, you or any grassroots candidate has no chance.
No, you're absolutely right. But I do believe this, though, brother, that I don't think poor and working people will ever be able to live the lives they deserve based exclusively on the ballot. I think you have to have social movements. I think you have to have ways in which the workplace is reorganized, the way in which media is reorganized, the way in which culture is reorganized. It's not going to be a matter of folk being able to live the kind of lives with dignity they deserve based solely on the ballot. The ballot is just one particular moment within a larger effort of a people's movement, a poor and working people's movement, to try to reshape the society in a way that it results in fundamental transformation, protecting rights and liberties across the board, but also trying to engage in a massive redistribution of wealth downward. Because I'm an abolitionist when it comes to poverty. I'm an abolitionist when it comes to homelessness. I've said on many occasions, even if I win, my dear brother Pastor, I don't even plan to go to the White House until everybody has a house. That's just kind of spirit of it.
I love
it's
the
Martin Luther King Jr. legacy. And that's what it means to bear witness vis-a-vis citizen to citizen. I'll always be a citizen, even as president. I am a citizen. I'm not a king. I'm not a monarch. I'm not a Pied Piper. I am a citizen who has chosen to play this role for the empowerment of my fellow citizens, and beginning with the least of these, of course. Just as a Christian, I always begin with the poor and the orphans and the widows. I learned this from my Hebrew scripture. My precious Jewish brothers and sisters, unleash that into the world. Let us institutionalize a commitment to orphans and widows and so forth. That's one reason why the Palestinians are still so very important. Because you got the Jewish peoples who unleashed into the world this magnificent conception of the world where the oppressor at the center, and then you end up with an Israeli state that oppresses Palestinians. We have to be consistent across the board, morally as well as spiritually.
I agree 100%. And unfortunately for us, Dr. West, the voters here in America, when it comes to foreign policy, it's an issue that's way down low. When it comes to Israel Palestine, it's really, really low. And I think that you are the best when it comes to Israel and Palestine. The way you explain it is amazing because you include the protection of the Jewish state, of the Jewish peoples,
well, this
as well
Jewish
as the
security.
integrity.
That doesn't mean it's the Jewish security is not identical with the Israeli state. For most Jewish brothers and sisters, they understand it that way. But the Israeli state has not been able to provide Jewish security. You can see the various attacks going on all the time. I want Jewish security. I want Palestinian dignity simultaneously.